So I want to look at this stages of change model. This is a behavior change model that's commonly used in applied psychology, and it sees behavior change as a series of 5 stages. The first stage is pre-contemplation, and this basically means that the person hasn't yet thought about changing the problematic behavior. When the individual is prompted to think about it, they move from pre-contemplation to the contemplation stage, and typically at this stage they'll experience a lot of cognitive dissonance and they may engage in motivated reasoning. If they're able to overcome that dissonance, they move to what's called the preparation stage. At this stage, they've decided they are going to change the behavior, but they haven't yet done so. They may have taken some practical, tangible steps. Next comes the action stage. This is typically defined as the first 6 months after somebody has made a definitive change in their behavior. At this stage, they're most liable to relapse and start doing the old behavior again. After 6 months, they move from the action stage to what's called the maintenance stage. This is basically between 6 months and 5 years, when they are just chilling, they're maintaining the behavior, they find it a lot easier, they don't experience cravings anymore, and stuff like that. As an individual moves through the 5 stages, they experience increasing belief in their ability to maintain a behavioural change, and they experience increasing strength of conviction in their decision to maintain the behavioural change. If we look at this in the context of meat reduction, we can see UK survey results show us about 49% of people are at this pre-contemplation stage. They just haven't thought about eating less meat. The good news is that some of this 49% will be immediately willing to change their behaviour, so they really just need to hear about the reasons for doing so. Another 30% are in the contemplation stage, so they're currently thinking about whether they should eat less meat. We captured 6% at the preparation stage, where they've decided they are going to go vegetarian, but they haven't done it yet. 3% in the first 6 months of being vegetarian, and 12% who have been vegetarian for a longer time than that. So consistent with other survey data, we have about 1 in 6 people who are not eating any meat in the UK. That's already quite high if you think about it. It's useful to classify people in terms of these groups because it can tell us what kinds of interventions might be useful for them. Clearly, the person who has never thought about eating less meat is going to require quite different interventions from the person who has already decided they're going to eat less meat, but they just haven't yet taken action. In the pre-contemplation stage, the most effective interventions are likely to be recommending documentaries, recommending books, podcasts, and other media, and just having conversations with people. It's really about encouraging them to think about meat reduction for the first time, seriously. For people who are at the contemplation stage, these same interventions are going to be effective. I would also recommend just tagging them in the occasional thing on social media, just to keep it front of their mind. They're already thinking about eating less meat, we just don't want them to forget about it. That might not be so effective for somebody who really hasn't thought about it yet. When we look at someone at the preparation stage, someone who has actually already decided they're going to change, then we have a bunch of different interventions which start to be effective. This is when we can look at things like sharing good vegan food, recommending recipes, doing swap guides, really practical how-to steps at this point. They're already bought into the why, now at this stage they want to know the how. For people who are planning to soon reduce their meat consumption or who have recently reduced their meat consumption, there are 2 really cool tools. The first is what's called Intention Implementation Plan. Seems needlessly difficult to say. And basically that means making a plan for what you will do in challenging situations. In the context of meat reduction, that might be when I'm around lots of other people who are eating meat, I will make sure that I have a tasty alternative so that I don't feel too jealous. Or it might be when I come home drunk at 3 a.m. wanting a kebab, I will make sure that I have some frozen vegan burgers in the freezer. It's a good idea to have a plan for 2 or 3 high-risk situations that you're likely to find yourself in. The next tool is probably my favourite. It's called the Food Tea app. You can find it on the App Store and Google Play. Basically, it's this game where you choose which foods that you want to eat or avoid, and then they'll flash up on the screen in either red or green circles. You hit the green circles, you don't hit the red circles, and essentially it trains your brain so that you will respond less to the foods showing up in red circles. It's been shown to reduce meat consumption if you play this game with meat in the red circles. The app is called Food Tea, all one word. Seriously, check it out. And finally, social media and groups, I think, are an incredibly important tool at the maintenance stage. The key thing about the maintenance stage beyond the first 6 months of behaviour change is where a new identity starts to take root, and putting yourself in social groups which share that identity is a fantastic way to ensure that it stays with somebody. One of the major reasons that people stop being vegetarian or vegan is feeling socially isolated, and that they don't have others around them who are supportive. So if you can get yourself into those social groups, it much reduces the chances that you're going to go back on that later. I'll post a link to all of this stuff in the video description. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more.